Hey, what's cracking? How are you doing today? Hope that you, my friend, have everything going your way. I want to thank you for clicking on the video. If you've never watched one before, my name is RickeyJosephDye, and I went to prison when I was 15 years old for murder in the state of Oklahoma. I was there for 20 and a half years before I was released. During that time, I've seen a lot of things, and I've been through a lot of things. I can't do anything to change my past. I wish that I could go back and change what led to me being in a store that night when a man lost his life. Wish there was something I could do to change it, but I can't, so that I can do the next best thing by sharing my experience in hopes that by sharing it, I'll save some other kid from doing the same thing I did. Maybe not a kid, maybe another grown person who's thinking about going and whooping somebody's ass. Maybe someone's pissed you off and you've thought about pulling your gun on them. Maybe you're on pills, you're hooked on pain medications, and you go and you buy drugs all the time because you have to, just to keep from being sick. And maybe you could get caught with that shit in your car and not know it's cut with fentanyl, and the next thing you know, you're on your way to the joint. So I make these videos as a cautionary tale. I talk about what happened to me in the hopes that it will never happen to you. And today we're going to jump back into my story in just a moment. And I'm going to tell you how it was that I got shipped from Granite, caught up in someone else pulling a catch-out move. And what is a catch-out move? What is catching out? Catching out, if you end up in a prison in medium security in the state of Oklahoma, you're going to be tested in any number of ways, depending on the yard that you're put on and what you're in prison for. If you're not in prison for a sex charge, you're going to have it a little easier. That doesn't mean you'll have it easy. It all depends on how you do your time. If you run around trying to do drugs, trying to get into drugs, gambling and borrowing from people, you're going to have a pretty rough go of it. If you stick to yourself and mind your own business, and maybe you won't get tested near as much, but you'll still have to face tests. People get pressure put on them, and they don't know what to do, and they don't want to go. A lot of people don't want to go and just straight catch out. Well, what is catching out? Catching out is when you go to the officers on the yard and you tell them that, or a staff member of any form, and you say, hey, I'm afraid to be here. I'm scared of this person for this reason or that reason. And that's what people do. And whenever someone does that, they go to the officers and they ask for help. They'll take them and they'll lock them in a cell somewhere by themselves or with someone else who's also afraid. And they'll keep them locked up there until they can think of another place to send them where they don't feel like they're in jeopardy or at risk of being hurt. So say a guy goes down there and says, hey, old Joe Blow here is threatening me and he's going to hurt me and I need to get away from him. So they'll take you and put you in a cell by yourself with another guy scared just like you, and they'll go get that guy that you're afraid of and they'll lock him up for whatever it is he's done to you. But you won't see him anymore. They'll ship you to another yard. Well, the problem is when you get to the next yard and someone comes along who knew that you were on another yard and they say, hey, that guy caught out from such and such. So now all of a sudden, everyone is against you because you're a catch out. So people don't want to be a catch out. They don't want to be called a catch out, even if they feel like they need to catch out. So people will do all kinds of other things to try to get away. So say you're afraid to get in a fight with me. So you think I'm going to beat you up. So instead of fighting me, you go jump on somebody you know you can whoop. And you get into a fight with them and you go to jail on purpose and get shipped on purpose just so you don't have to face me. I've seen guys go and buy a knife, hide it in their cell, and then write a note on their self and go slide it under the case manager's door saying, oh, Joe Scott's got a knife in his cell. His name is Joe Scott. He's telling on himself because he's under so much pressure from someone else. He's afraid he's going to get hurt. So he finds some other way to get locked up and shipped away. And that's kind of how I got caught up. So I'm at Granite, and I pull up at Granite, and when I get there, man, I'm less than a year to go home. Not hoping for parole or anything else. I had a 22-year sentence I had to serve, and I had been locked up for about 20 years almost. I had been locked up for 19 and a half years whenever I got to Granite. So I'm figuring that I'm going to be here at Granite. This is where I'm going to finish my time. I'm going to probably go home from here. And Michael Mackey, he's one of the head UABs in the system. Usually, whenever you're in a day room, whoever has been in the UAB the longest, they have seniority, they have stroke. They're going to be the ones who run that day room for the whites. The day rooms are racially evenly numbered. So when the guards fill this day room up, so they got to put 30 guys in here. They're going to try to put as many whites and blacks in equal numbers to make sure that neither side is outnumbered. In case something does happen, one side don't just get hurt bad real fast. So they try to put even numbers in there. So what the white guys do, and no other race does it. No other race does it. But the white guys, when you get there, first thing that's going to happen is me and a couple more guys were going to come up in your cell. Well, it ended up being me in this tank because there was no UABs in my tank. Not even one brother in that tank. So Michael Mackey tells me, RickeyJosephDye, you've been locked up almost 20 years. You're a solid convict. You're running that day room right there. I'm like, oh, I don't want to run this day room, man. I don't want to be the one running nothing or deciding nothing. I'm fixing to go home. As soon as I got there, my friend come up and handed me a knife. I said, God damn, do I have to have this? Do I need this? Because I was at the position where I would rather get stabbed and go home than stab someone and stay in this place. I didn't want to run anything. I don't want to be the one deciding if you get to stay in this day room, because that's what it boils down to. If you're white and you got put in that day room, it will be up to me if you got to stay there. Because you have to be willing to fight just in case something happens, that a big gang war starts right in the middle of everything, whites and blacks, or Mexicans and whites, or Mexicans and blacks. If a big thing starts, we got to know you're going to fight. So even if you don't have a sex charge, you got to fight someone your size to prove you got heart. So if we come up in that cell on you and you don't have if you have a sex charge, we're all three going to maul you out. If you don't have a sex charge, if you're an older guy, if you're in your 50s, I'm going to find someone in their 50s in here. Somebody as close as we can match up to you to give you an even fight to see that you got enough heart to stay here. And you got to fight at least one time to prove it. At least you're not in the day rooms where they're doing the Friday night fights. Because in the day rooms where they're bored enough to do Friday night fights, you might just get picked to fight someone about your size so people can bet on who's going to win. It's Friday night and we're bored, so we're gonna gamble on who's toughest in here. We're gonna put this guy against that guy and that guy against that guy, and we're gonna get them in there and make them fight until one of them either bleeds or says they've had enough. And that's how you know who won. Somebody starts bleeding, we're doing first blood. Somebody goes in there, once you make them bleed, you win. So it's just something out of boredom to make you fight on. So a very rough place. So the Bloods on the yard have all the power and all the stroke because they have all the drugs. And there's one guy, you would think that the leader of the Bloods would be a big, buffed up, mean, tough looking son of a bitch, right? But he's one of the smallest Bloods, one of the smallest black dudes around. He's all buffed up. Yeah, he does push-ups. He works out, does his water bags. People will take trash bags and fill them up with water and put them in a laundry bag and roll up a magazine to use for a handle, tie that all together and lift that water bag every day to try to get size on them. The reason he was the leader was two things. For one, he was double treacherous. Regardless of what size he was, this little dude would get a knife and come and stab the shit out of you in front of God and everybody. That's one reason he was the leader. But the other reason is he was the one that got all the dope in. And I'm very cool with him, but I don't know that he would want me to say his name in this video. And if I used his nickname, everyone would know who I'm talking about. So I'm going to say Buck. We're going to call him Buck. He was the head dude. Big Buck, man. Shit, he had all the dope. Everybody. And I'm tight with him. And Buck's got a cell phone, and I know his cell phone number. That's how tight we are. That my mom has the number to his cell phone that he's using on this yard. So anytime I wanted some weed or any kind of drug that I may have been wanting to get from him, I would just go straight to him and get it and get the best deal. Because everybody else is having to buy it from his little homeboys. So what Buck does, Buck's smart, man. Buck, he'd take his dope and pass it out amongst his little homies and have them sell it. So I got a little homie in my day room, and I will use his nickname. It's Day Day. I don't know his real name, but he lived next door to me. Day Day did. And Bucks give Day Day some dope to sell. So he's got a bunch of papers of cocaine, and he's got some weed over there. And he's supposed to be selling this stuff to the white guys in his unit and then having the money sent to Buck. But his money ain't hidden. Buck done gave Day Day all this dope. None of Day Day's money's showing up. Come to find out, Day Day has been over there, and we all knew he was doing it. It's the reason none of us are buying anything. None of the white guys are buying any of it from him, because Day Day is messing with the cocaine. He's snorting that shit. And what he's done is they make up little papers. A paper for $100 is a quarter of a gram. Fill a chapstick cap up, dump it out on the table. That's basically a gram. You split that in 4 piles. That's $400 papers. So a quarter paper on the street's $100 paper in prison. But Day-Day, he's opening those things up and getting it out and snorting part of it and then trying to sell what's left and still trying to charge $100. So nobody's wanting to buy it from him because they know it's cut down and it's smaller than it'll be if you just go over there and get it from one of those other guys. So I'm sitting up in my cell one day, nothing going on, and they lock us down for count time, and then they come around and they come and get Day-Day out of his cell earlier, and then they come and get me. They take me down there to lock up, and they're locking me up, and I'm thinking, what the fuck is going on? I haven't done nothing. So I'm automatically thinking, is it one of those guys that just came on here and they went and told somebody that I'm running this day room? I'm thinking I must have got caught up. I'm hoping they're not going to be calling me a shot caller and putting that in my jacket because I'm on level 4. And the only reason I'm going home in about 10, 12 months is because I'm on level 4 and I got that good time coming in. So I'm going to know what the fuck am I on lockup for, man? They won't tell me anything, and they leave me down there 2 or 3 days without telling me anything. Just take me and lock me in a cell. Don't tell me why I'm in lockup or nothing. And they got Day-Day in the cell right next to me because he keeps talking to me through the toilet. And at first he's acting like he don't know why we're in there. You know what I mean? He's telling me, man, what do they got you for, Rick? And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm down here for. They won't tell me shit. So he's telling me the same thing. And after about 3 days, they pull me out of my cell. And they take me in there with a chief of security and the unit manager and a case manager and a lieutenant or captain or something. So Rick, we heard that you're in debt, that you owe some money to Day-Day, and it's supposed to be going to Buck. And we know Buck's selling dope. We know he's having his little homies sell drugs and stuff, and we already know that you owe money to this guy Day-Day. I can't remember what they said his name was. I think it was Jones or something. I can't remember, but basically it was Day-Day. Say you owe money to Day-Day, and Day-Day owes that to Buck. And since you're not paying it, this Day-Day and you are both going to get hurt. So what we need to know is that you're going to be able to take care of your debt, so there won't be no problems. Like, what? There ain't no fucking way I'm fixing to say yes, I can take care of my debt. These motherfuckers are trying to use me to confirm that Buck is selling dope. If I admit that I owe some money to Day-Day that goes to Buck, or if that I owe Buck anything, period, then I'm telling on Buck. There ain't no way I'm doing that. I'm like, dude, I don't owe nobody nothing. I'm about to go home. You can go listen to all my phone calls because when I call home, I don't talk about anything, so they can listen to that. You can go listen to all my phone calls. You can read my letters, motherfucker. I'm about to go home. I don't owe nobody nothing. Well, we already know that you owe the money to Day-Day, and we know that it goes to Buck. We just need you to confirm that you're going to be able to take care of it, or we can't put you back on the yard. Like, what you mean you can't put me back on the yard? Well, there may be. We just had a race riot here, and he said, if we put you back on the yard and the blacks jump you, the whites are going to take your side, and we're going to be right back in the middle of a race riot on this yard. We can't risk that. So I get them. So they're locking me up for my own protection because they think I owe this money. But I don't owe Day-Day no money that goes to Buck. I do owe Buck some money, but I'm not about to admit to that. So I go back to my cell and I say, Day-Day, you motherfucker, dude, did you catch out, dude? You told these motherfuckers I owe you money that goes to Buck? And then he broke down, man. He's telling me, I'm sorry, Rick, man. I know I shouldn't put your name in there, but they wasn't going to let me leave if I didn't give them somebody's name. You was the first one I thought about they would believe. Man, I got behind on that shit. That's what instead of saying I did the dope, he says, I got behind on that shit. And my homeboys is going to take me to court. Man, I'm fixing to go home. He had already signed papers for minimum security, and he didn't tell any of them. He was hoping that he could just keep doing that dope, keep putting them off, telling the money's coming, and not tell them who he owed it to because he wouldn't say who owed the money. He would never tell. Day-Day would never tell Buckingham who owed him. So they knew he was full of shit. That's why they were taking him to court. He runs down, signs paper to go to minimum security, and he's thinking any day he'll go to minimum, he'll be able to get away. But we got too close. He heard they were fixing to take him to court in the next couple of days, so he went ahead and caught out. Told him I owed him money, and I wasn't paying it, and it was going to get him smashed. When he did it, drug me right into the shit with him, man. So the only thing I was able to do is I told him I wanted to sign a waiver saying that I will not hold them responsible if something happens to me if they put me back on the yard. You can sign a waiver for your own protection. If the police are trying to protect you, sometimes they'll let you sign a waiver and it says, I take full responsibility for my life and actions. If I'm put back on the yard and something happens to me, it's on my own. It's on me, not the state. So I signed that paper, but they still wouldn't let me back on the yard because of the racial thing. They had just had a killing. Some Indians had just killed a couple black guys, and the whites and blacks were against each other, and they had locked the whole yard down and shipped everybody they thought had anything to do with it all over the place. Some of them, they shipped them plumb out of state. But I ended up spending 60 days down there in that lockup because they couldn't send me anywhere. I had people with separatees on me everywhere. There's nowhere for me to go. At Crabtree, you're supposed to have been, at the time, you were supposed to be 40 years or older and on level 4 to go there. Well, I was on level 4, but I was only 35 years old. And there was somebody on that yard that had a protective order against me. So when that person left, it opened that bed up. I wasn't old enough, but I was within 6 months of going home. So they decided we're going to send him on over there and let him finish his time. We can't get him down under medium because of his battery on the staff. But hopefully that'll be a stair step down from Granite. We'll just put him over there and then he'll go on home. And then I was there about 6 months. That's how I met Monica. So I guess it did end up coming out to my benefit. I got off one of the most dangerous yards in the system and ended up on one of the easiest yards in the system to finish my time. And with that, well, I'll pick back up again. Now I guess I'll be at Crabtree. But I have some other things to talk to you about. So just hang with me for a minute. I have been going through it on my YouTube channel. The reason I hadn't posted before this, someone hacked my Google account. They kicked me out of everything Google. I couldn't use Google. I couldn't use Chrome. I couldn't use Google Photos. I couldn't get in my Gmail. They blocked me out of my YouTube channel. I couldn't comment on any comments. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't upload a video. I couldn't respond to your comments, nothing. So I have responded to some of the comments, but because I have been locked out of my stuff, I haven't been able to take care of all of them, but I will get to my comments. But I do have some thank yous, man. For people for the last video who did super thanks. Rob Johnson, Justin Cash, Proud Masculine, and NBC Kicks. All those guys, 2 of those guys done a $20 super thanks. Let me tell you that with YouTube, you have to make at least $100 in a month for them to pay you anything. If you only make $85, it'll just roll over to the next month until you make enough that it adds up to more than $100 or you won't get anything. And I've been going through this separation with my wife, and I've been going through this deal with this car, and I've had so much going on. And then every time I turn around, I'm kicked out of my shit. So what happens is I go in and do a recovery email. Then I have to go through Monica to do it because her email is my recovery email. She has to set up a new password and give it to me, and then I can get back in. But sometimes right after I get in, I get kicked right back out, and my password has changed. So I don't know how to stop whoever is doing it from doing it. I went into my settings and privacy, and I signed everyone out of everything but my iPhone. I changed my password. I changed my security question. So I can only hope and pray that I don't get kicked out again. I've been in it for a day and a half, almost 2 days now. So hopefully it doesn't happen again. So if you don't hear anything from me, I'm not answering comments. I'm probably locked out of my channel. Special thanks to John Doe. I told you guys about the car that Ben loaned me the money to get me a car. And man, my brother went to work on it. He's done hundreds of dollars worth of work. And I just spent about $350 on parts. And that car is running like a beaut, man. It runs great. The hood needs painted on it. My dad's going to do that for me for my birthday next month. So November 15th is my birthday. And my dad's painting my car for my birthday. So not only will I have one that runs good, but I have one that looked good. And John Doe, when I said in the last video that I didn't have the money to tag it, I'd wait till the first. He sent the money for me to tag that car. So that car is legal. It's sitting out there. I can drive it right now. It's a major blessing in my life. And it's all because of the people that I've met through this channel. So it has been a major blessing for me. I'm picking up my blessings, throwing down my curses, and I want you to do the same thing. Because I know if you got up today thinking about all the ways you're blessed, you're doing okay today. I don't need to worry about you going and sticking a gun in your mouth or doing something to get you put in prison because you're picking up your blessings. And when you pick up your blessings, your whole day just goes better. And so that's what I hope that you're doing today. And with that, may God bless, keep, and protect each and every one of you. And shout out to the riders and dyers. The riders who ride till the wheels fall off, and the dyers keep riding even when they do. If it wasn't for you riders and dyers and these super thanks, I wouldn't even made $100 for next month. Because of you guys, I'm going to get paid next month from YouTube. So I want to thank you for that once again. Till the next one. Peace out.